So this video is going to be on just the basics of graphing and the definitions and kind of the basic plotting and finding coordinate pairs, just to review the essentials that we need. So this is a coordinate graph, sometimes called a Cartesian graph or an XY graph, but mostly when you talk about graphing things in math, at least in middle school, you're going to be looking at this stuff, even in high school. There's a few things we need to know. First, it does have two what are called axes. It has the x-axis, which is basically this line going down left to right, and the y-axis, which is this line going top to bottom. So the x-axis is basically a number line from left to right, and the y-axis is a number line top to bottom. And then in the middle, we have what's called the origin. So this right here, that is the origin, and that's basically the point 0, 0. So that's where the x and y axes cross, and that's kind of where the middle of the graph is, so to speak. Now, the graph doesn't necessarily need to have that in the middle. It could have the origin over here, and the axes could be over there, but usually it's in the middle of the graph when we start to begin this stuff. Uh, when you label points, you have to label them x first, then y. So for example, if I want to label this point right here, I want to say, what are the coordinates of this point? I would say, well, it's 4 on the x, because it goes over 1, 2, 3, 4 on the x, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the y, about. Let me see if I can't move this point so it's a little bit, whoops, right there. Let me see if I can't move this point so it's a little bit more clear about where it's at. There we go. So this is at the point 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'd call this the point 4, comma 6, because it's 4 spots over and 6 spots up. This point down here, again, it's a little bit off center. Let me see if I can't recenter that. There we go, a little bit better. This point right here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. So we'd say it's 5, comma, negative 6, because the negative implies it's down. So again, negative means down or left, and positive means right or up, depending on which axes you choose it to. Now, when you're labeling points, they always go x first, then y, every time, all the time. So you always do the left and right movement first, and then the up and down movement. Cannot go any other way. Just like the alphabet, x comes before y. Now, another thing about graphs that some people forget is that they actually have what are called quadrants. So as you see, if we have a graph like this, it's kind of split into 4 sections. This is called quadrant 1, this is called quadrant 2, this is called quadrant 3, and this is called quadrant 4. And they are labeled in this order counterclockwise. So it goes 1 on the upper right, and then 2, 3, 4. And usually they're labeled with Roman numerals. You don't have to be, but that's kind of a convention, is to label the quadrants of a graph with Roman numerals. And other than that, there's really not much to it. The quadrants are just there to help us kind of figure out the zones of where to plot points. But there are some properties, like in quadrant 1, all the points are positive, positive. So positive 4, positive 6, this would be positive 2, positive 1. This point right here would be positive 10, positive 2. So every point in the first quadrant is going to be double positives. Every point in the second quadrant is going to be negative positive. So like example, this point right here, that's negative 7 and positive 4 about. So it'd be negative 7, 4. So this point right here would be negative 9, 2. So this would be negative 9, 2. And you also label your points with the parentheses and the comma in between them. It's again a convention to do that. So every point in quadrant 2 is going to be negative positive. In quadrant 3, it's going to be double negative. So again, this point right here would be negative 6, negative 2. This point down here would be negative 3, negative 3. So these are double negative, and then again, this last one here would be positive negative. So this point right here, again, positive 5, negative 6. So one thing, if you know the quadrants, you can kind of figure out where a point's going to be before you even graph it. So if I say graph the point 5, 4, you know automatically, well, it's going to be in this quadrant right here because they're both positive, so 5, 4 has to be in this first quadrant there. So we have the origin, which is the center of the graph, essentially, the point 0, 0. Then we have the XY axes, again, X first, then Y, and then we have the four quadrants. And that's kind of the uh, basics of a graph there. If you know those, you can kind of get started graphing. So let's see if we can't graph a few basic points just to show you how it's done. So point A is at the point 3, -1. So again, X first, so 1, 2, 3, and then -1 is down 1. So that would be point A. It's in quadrant 4. Point B is 0, 4. So 0 means don't go over at all. So remember, it's left and right first. So you start at the center, left or right 0. So you stay there, and then you go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right, whoops, my bad. Try that again. So point B would be right there. That'd be the point 0, 4. So 0 and then 1, 2, 3, 4. For C, 5, 0, again, this 0 means go up or down nothing because it's on the Y spot. So it means start at the center, go over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then go up or down 0. So you just stay there. And so point C would be right there. Now, when you have fractions, it's kind of hard to tell like where 1/4 and 1/2 is. So basically, you just kind of guess the best you can. So obviously, I wouldn't put 1/2 way up here because that's clearly not a half. But I say, okay, a half is halfway to 1. So if this is 1 right here, a half would be kind of like right there. That's about where a half is. And then a fourth is even less than that. So going a fourth down, well, there's 1 down. There's a half down. So a fourth is going to be kind of like right here, little itty bitty downwards. So my point is going to be kind of like right there. So that would be about where point D is. Over a half and down a fourth. Very tiny spot there. So is it exact? No, but it's the best you can do. So you just kind of guesstimate where it's at. Same with decimals. I don't know exactly where negative 8.8 is, but I know here's negative 8. I know here's negative 9. I know that negative 8.8 is pretty close to 9, so I'm going to put it pretty close to 9. And then negative 5.5, well, that's basically halfway past negative 5. So I'm going to go down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's 5. Here's negative 6. So that'd probably be like right there. It'd be negative 5.5. So this point right here would be where E is. So again, with decimals or fractions, you just guesstimate about where it's at using good judgment. Everything else you can just kind of do by X first and then Y, just basic plotting points. And remember, it's always left and right first and then up and down. It's a rule you want to get stuck in your brain there. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day.